Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel, and on this episode we're going to continue doing the dash swap on the 2001 F350. This is for the column, so it's a column helper. We already did the cluster helper, we installed that, so that's ready to go. Now we're going to do the column. This is the cluster helper wiring that I did already from them, and this is pretty much going to plug in straight into the 08 to 10 cluster that I have. Cluster helper and the column helper units are standalone units, so you don't need to rely, they don't rely on each other. They can be installed separately. For example, if I want to use the cluster from the 2010, I can do that. I can plug that in and that's going to work just fine. But if I want to use my 01 column, for example, I would have to obviously modify a few sections here. On McNasty, they sell kits. If you want to use your original column, they sell kits from McNasty's that you can install your original, and then you can plug in your original wires, and everything's going to work just fine. You're just going to have a newer style cluster. Here's what we have in the box. We have the module itself. We got the stickers. That's for the wires they're going to put on the truck, for example. And then you got this harness that comes with the module. It's going to plug in here like so. You got the instructions right here. Explains everything about the module. Read all this through. Don't skip anything. It shows you how to solder as well. And then here we go. So basically what you're going to do is follow the wiring legend right here. Basically you go, for example, truck wiring. So basically that's going to be this stuff right here, which I'm going to do. I'm probably going to unwrap this whole thing because I'm going to have to cut and splice the wires here, and then go to the truck wiring, which is that, and then follow the diagram, find the yellow, and then connect that to column helper spade connector on here. So basically you got yellow here, and then you got yellow right here and right there, because there's two yellows, so you're going to connect two yellows right here. And then you basically just follow the list and do one at a time. So basically that's a list of all the truck wiring. And then when you get to the ignition switch, clock spring wiring, this is the ignition switch right here, and then the bottom here is the clock spring. And then I got this one right here, which is what? Probably multi-function switch. And I believe that's it, because on automatic you're gonna have one or two more connectors. I don't remember exactly, but in my case it's a manual, so I don't have as many plugs. And let's just give you an example. We got ignition switch right here. We go to the ignition switch printout, and let's go. We got white and orange, and this is a 2010 column, so we got 8 to 10 colors, and then you got 11 to 16, and then you got white and orange. So we got right here, we got a white and orange right there on the right, this guy. So that's gonna go to column helper ignition start run A2 red. We got a red one, and we got ignition start A2 red. And so basically that one is going to connect to the orange, white and orange stripe. And then you go down the list and do all of them, and that's pretty much, I mean, you got to take your time. You got to be paying attention to not to make any mistakes, but that's pretty much how it's gonna go. And then we got all the labels. Everything is organized. So this is a truck wiring. There's a bunch of them. And then we got clock spring labels, and then we got ignition switch labels, and then we got tow and haul labels, multi-function switch labels. So everything is organized pretty much according to the list. So we got truck wiring, so we're gonna work with this stuff right here. I'm gonna go ahead and unwrap all of this so I can see all the wires and have full access to them, and then I'm gonna rewrap later when it's all done. And then on the column, I'm gonna unwrap all this, probably cut it right here somewhere, unwrap these, separate them, so I'll have full access to them. And then I'm probably gonna go ahead and put the column in here temporary, so I get an idea how it should sit, so I can see how much wires I need to cut, and kind of pretty much slowly connect one wire at a time. And then you got the module. It snaps in here like so, this way or the other way, and then everything plugs into here, and you got the relays that plug into here, which come with the kit as well. And pay attention and do everything, you know, one line at a time. Don't rush anything, just take your time, and that's the best way to not make any mistakes. All right guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and unwrap this, unwrap that, figure all the wires out, label everything, and then we'll go from there. And pretty much ready to go to start cutting, soldering. We need to take this column helper module and mount it in here. So basically you have a hole right there, hole right there. Basically it's gonna sit like this. One hole will line up over here on the bottom, and then the other one will line up right there. And then we're gonna use these little clips, and they're gonna go through here, clip in, and it's gonna be nice and set on both sides. One will go through here like so, and then it'll get locked in. And then push another one like that, and that's good to go. And also I'm gonna have to plug in this data cable, which is gonna be on the front there. There's a plug there. I'm gonna plug that in, and then I'm gonna plug that in somewhere, and then I'm gonna run it so I have access if I ever need to update the software and all that stuff, or do diagnostics. And then I also downloaded the diagrams, also available on their website. And basically you're starting off with the truck ignition switch, which is this one. And you got all these wires, the really fat wires. I marked them on the bottom here as well, so they correspond with the diagram. Kind of makes it a little bit easier just when you see that and see that. You don't have to do that, but to me that was a little bit easier to run all the wires. So now that I have all my wires marked and ready to go, I can start cutting and running them to the module, start plugging them in where they need to go, and then start organizing all the wires. All right guys, so the column helper is officially installed. All right guys, so the column helper is officially installed. All the wires are cut and soldered together. I know it looks like a spaghetti mess right now. So basically the fuse box was in this spot where the column helper is installed right now. So I'm gonna have to mount this in here somewhere. Right now, just kind of put it the way it's gonna sort of be, so I could run the wires and see, basically to have enough slack for the actual column, because that's gonna go all the way over there. I'm actually gonna remove these covers. They're not really needed. The bolts stay inside. The covers I'm gonna remove so the wires can have more slack, because they're gonna go this way and up instead of left and up. They're gonna be it's gonna give them more slack in order for this mess to be cleaned up a little bit. And these are wires from the truck themselves that go to the plug for the SwapHelper right here. And the other ones go to the steering column in the front there. And in order to do all the wiring, you want to have the steering column installed because you want to make sure that everything has enough slack. Right now I put a couple of zip ties on here, and I'm gonna probably put a sleeve on it, tape it up, and then I'm gonna put a bigger sleeve on these. So that's gonna be taped up and nice and clean. It's gonna go back there. These two plugs I'm not using on my truck because it's a manual, but these wires are for automatic. I think one is for towing and overdrive, and the other one is for switches and all that stuff. And then these are all the wires that I didn't need on my truck. For example, if it's like a 11 to 16 cruise select, I'm not gonna need that. Rear wiper, we don't need that. That's for the excursions. HVAC input, we don't need that. I don't have controls. Another couple wires though that I'm not using on my truck because my truck is a 2001 is the Viper Mode Select. This one is for the 99 to 2000, but on a 2001 you don't need those wires. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna probably cut them here, cap them here, and they're gonna be tucked away. And I got two grounds that after I tighten everything up, and it's gonna pretty much sit exactly where it's gonna sit, I'm gonna run these two ground wires to the frame, to the dash frame. And then I'm gonna make sure that there's bare metal, that there's no paint, because I did paint the dash frame. So I gotta make sure there's, you know, a nice good ground on the frame, and then also where it's mounted to the truck itself. I already cleaned that area up so I don't forget. Spot the bolts right here, the mount to the actual door jambs. I gotta make sure that that's nice and clean. And here's the setup tools that I'm using. This is the wire little end separator. Basically, you clip the wire in, it pulls it, separates it, and you got a bare wire. Soldering iron, Milwaukee. One of the best ones I used. I hate wired soldering irons. They're just a pain in the butt. The wire, it's always in the way, and a lot of them, they're not that good anyways. So basically I ended up buying one of these really good soldering iron. Got my clippers, tape, and I got my little hand holders, I guess, wire holders. So basically if you need to solder the wires, otherwise it's extremely hard to obviously hold the wire, solder it. I just put one wire in, unless it's necessary to hold the other one really tight. And the last best purchase I've made is this heat gun by DeWalt. The reason I bought this is because you have two settings on top. You got high and low. And another reason I bought this is because the trigger, you can lock it in place, and you can, you know, hold the wire, run it through here in the front, or that way you don't have to pretty much hold this and then hold the wire with your other hand. And that's going to be, you know, it just makes things a lot better, and it's more convenient. All my tools are Makitas, so the batteries are Makitas, and I did not want to buy a DeWalt charger and DeWalt battery, so I ended up buying this bracket. I think eBay or Amazon. I think it was on Amazon. I bought this battery converter, so basically I can run Makita batteries on DeWalt. All right guys, so let's go ahead and clean this up, make it look pretty, and we'll see what it looks like. Pretty much everything is zip tied and taped up where it should go, roughly. I don't remember exactly how everything's gonna go, but basically this is the harness that's gonna go to the cluster. This is the cluster helper harness. Basically just kind of tucked it in here underneath there because it is fairly long, so I don't want to have all this stuff, all this mess over here. So basically just kind of zip tied it to this vent tube right here. That way it keeps the vent in place, and the wires are you know, not going to be flopping around. So that's going to be enough slack for the cluster itself. I'm still gonna, once I plug everything in and everything is functional and everything is good, I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up. I'm gonna take off all these stickers and tidy it up a little bit. And this goes to the boost gauge. So that's going to be nice and secure and neat. These two big plugs I'll deal with once I have the fuse box in place right here. Once that's in place exactly where I want it, then we'll see how these plug in, and then I'm gonna tidy up this part, put a sleeve on it probably here. But other than that, it's good to go. And so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and put this in a truck and see how the wires sit. And hopefully everything is, you know, where it should be, and I don't have to rewrap or remove things, so it's not hitting things. All right, let's throw this in the truck and see what we got. All right guys, and the dash is in. Finally, the harness is done, everything's done, and this is the last time I'm gonna be pulling out the dash. Now I'm gonna pretty much start checking everything from left to right, making sure things are not hitting, and start connecting things like the vent helper. I'll connect those on top here, and then that vent for the windshield on the back there. That's gonna connect to the opening on the right there, if you guys saw that install. And then I'm gonna be lighting up these holes as well. It seems like it's getting pushed up a little bit somewhere. And then I'm gonna be checking everything on this side, make sure everything is good on this side, nothing's hitting, and then trying to figure out where to mount the fuse box. It's gonna go somewhere over here, but I'm gonna deal with that later after I get the column ready, because I still have to break the key lock on the column and figure out how to get the cylinder out. Once that's out, I'm gonna put the column in, kind of temporary connect the fuse box, and then double check, triple check everything, make sure everything's good, and then try to connect the batteries and try to start it, and we'll see how that goes, just to make sure everything's good before we start finalizing the complete dash and start mounting it 100%. All right guys, so that'd be it for this episode. On the next episode, it's probably going to be the final episode for the dash swap. We're going to finalize the steering column, install everything on the dash, connect everything, and then we're going to get her started up. And then I'm going to be dealing with the upfitters, the switches that will turn off the LED bar, the LED pods on the front and back. I picked that up from a 2011 to 15 truck, so I'm going to figure out how to wire that up. I'm still kind of playing with that idea and looking at all the diagrams, how to run that up, connect that, and that should be good to go. So guys, thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.